The truth is you're not really clear on what it is you do. You're not really clear on who it is you help. And rather than make yourself get clear, the cop-out is, oh, well, my people will just be attracted to me. They'll just know it's just a feeling. It can't be explained. And I bet you, if you were willing to really run the experiment and really get more clear on who it is you help and what the transformation is, and then you spoke more clearly about that on your website, on your social media, in your bio, that you would land more clients. Welcome to the Joyous Path to Millions podcast with me, your host, Emily June Wilcox, serial entrepreneur, seven-figure business owner, mindset junkie, creator of the Money Wound Medicine program, devoted mama of two, and lover of coffee and crystals. My mission is to put more money in the hands of soulpreneurs through healing money wounds, building abundant businesses, and balancing masculine and feminine energy. When we do this, we collectively uplevel the frequency of the planet and help usher in new paradigm wealth. Each week, a new episode will air featuring expert advice, live coaching, and guest interviews where we'll dive into honest money conversations and the behind-the-scenes truth of building our aligned fempires. We all deserve a healthy, empowered relationship with money so we can experience more freedom, pleasure, and joy on our joyous path to millions. So get ready and let's dive in. Hello, loves, and welcome to the Joyous Path to Millions podcast. I am excited for this quick and dirty little coach 'em up episode. It's an idea that I've had chambered for quite a while, and I'm finally here to talk about it. And it's something that Rochelle and I talk a lot about when we're doing our website stuff. And it's this idea of clear over clever, or put differently, clarity over creativity. And this gets really important in marketing because we often have a tendency to want to be so creative and want to be so clever in what we're saying that we don't say the flippin' thing. And the problem with that is we're sacrificing clarity. And it's really important that our audience or our reader or our website visitor understands pretty darn quickly what it is. Like, what is this thing? And if that isn't clear, most people are just going to move on. They're going to scroll, they're going to X off of your page, and they're going to go on with their life. They're not going to get curious and dig around and investigate unless they already know you and are pretty hooked into your world. So when you're thinking about things that are more top of funnel, so to speak, like your website or your social media, where it could be a first impression with a new potential client, it's got to be pretty clear very quickly what it is that you do, or what it is that you're offering, or what it is that they would be buying. So clear over clever. If you make it so clever that the person doesn't really understand what you do or why they should buy from you or what it is that they even would be buying from you, you've got a major problem. And it reminds me of back in my sales days when we did a national sales meeting in Orlando, Florida at Disney World Resort. And we spent a day going through Disney's corporate training before we started our internal meetings. And we learned some really interesting things. And it's some of the stuff I've never forgotten, which kind of blows me away because I really wasn't even a Disney person at the time. In fact, was pretty anti. Nevertheless, you have to admit, like, Disney has a really large employee base, and a lot of them essentially are making minimum wage. So we're talking, I don't know exactly what the number is, but I think it's upwards of like 50,000 employees that are basically minimum wage employees that are working in their parks. So you've got a massive staff and you need to train them. And how are they able to create this magical culture where people want to work there and where they're creating like great customer experiences when they're not necessarily incentivized financially to be really plugged into the company's mission. And the way that they do it is, at the time they called it the service value chain. I don't know if they still call it this, but they had 4 elements to their service value chain and they were ranked. And so all they had to do was teach the employees the service value chain, and then the employees were able to very easily make decisions. So the service value chain went like this. Number 1, safety. Number 2, courtesy. Number 3, show. And number 4, efficiency. So then there would be all of these like hypothetical sort of scenarios, right? Like, what if I'm in line and my kiddo is 2 inches too short for the ride? Well, the courteous thing to do, or the thing that would be best for the show, and the show is like the magic, right? Like the production quality of Disney, would be to let him go on the ride. But because safety is the number 1 value, they would say, I'm so sorry, he is not quite tall enough yet. Come back again next time. Safety is their number 1 priority. So any employee knows the service value chain. They know that safety is at the top. And so it helps them prioritize the way that they act in the decisions that they make. But courtesy is above show. So for example, someone who works in Tomorrowland, they're wearing that sort of costume. So based on the show, they should be staying in their section of the park. But let's say that they see a kiddo fall down or crying or need help that's 20 or 30 feet away, but in an area of the park that's not theirs. Well, they're still going to go over and help that kiddo because that's the courteous thing to do. And that's also like the safe thing to do, right? If the kiddo is hurt or something like that, even though it sacrifices the show, you have a character who's out of their own world, but show is third on the list and courtesy is second and safety is first. And so it makes it very easy in that sense. For example, they talked about a kiddo who accidentally left their stuffed animal at the Disney World Resort, and they were hoping to get it back. And what one of the staff members did, like on their own accord, is take pictures of this stuffed animal kind of like riding rides and all throughout the park, and then sent it back with all of that. Now, that wasn't the most efficient thing to do. The most efficient thing to do would have been to just mail back the stuffed animal. But because show is more important, they created a magical experience for this guest by doing the less efficient thing, which was going around the park and taking pictures of the stuffed animal in all of these places, and then writing a letter that the stuffed animal just extended their vacation to have a few more adventures before returning back home. Like, how freaking cool is that? And the fact that you have, again, minimum wage employees who are so bought into this that they are willing to go above and beyond to make magical experiences for their guests is pretty incredible. But the thing about the service value chain that I liked so much is that it's really clear. There's not a lot of ambiguity to it. There's not so many words that it's hard to understand. It's not so clever that you're like, what the hell does that even mean? And I was so inspired by this that when I was, again, in corporate sales, I went back to my employer, who is a pharmaceutical company. I was like, man, we should make a service value chain for our sales organization. Like, how wonderful would that be? And it would really help from a culture standpoint, and it would help us be really clear on what our priorities are and to, move forward with that. And so we started this committee to do it. And what was fascinating and laughable and also frustrating, if I'm being honest at the time, was that we all agreed that patient safety should be first because, again, we were doing pharmaceutical sales and putting the patient first is the most important. So we had patient as our number 1. I wish I could remember all of the 4 things that we were considering for our own service value chain, but I don't. I do remember, however, that I was advocating to have sales in there somewhere. And we actually got so much pushback from the organization, and I think especially from legal, that we weren't even able to have sales anywhere in our service value chain, even though we were the sales department of this organization. So again, tens of thousands of employees who are out there making decisions every day. And we weren't even able to put that in. And so it was such a bizarre thing. And when I look back on that industry, there were a lot of euphemisms. There was a lot of double talk because ultimately we were salespeople and we had quotas to meet and we were expected to get results and we were incentivized based on those results. But there would always just be talk about like, oh, we just want to help more patients and yada, yada, which yes, we did want to do that. And it was also the company not wanting to say anything that could later land them in legal hot water because it was such a highly regulated industry. And there were so many bad actors at different points in time in different pharmaceutical companies that I think all of the companies were so skittish about it. But can you see how unclear that is if you work for a sales organization and you don't even know where sales falls in your service value chain? It would make it very hard to make the right kinds of decisions because you're getting mixed messages from your boss and from your organization. And anyway, I digress perhaps with this story, but clear over clever, clarity over creativity. How can you take a second look at your marketing message? Take a look at your Instagram bio, for goodness sakes. I mean, I can't even tell you how many people I look at their bio and I'm like, I don't understand what the bleep it is you do. Like, and it's so fine. We make up these titles, right? Like I say that I'm a money healer. Well, I don't know anyone else who calls themselves a money healer. So that is creative. But then it's beholden on me to be so clear, to provide so much clarity in the rest of my bio and in my content that people really understand what I do. Otherwise, they're probably not going to pay attention to me and they're probably not going to buy from me. So if you want to call yourself a soul alchemist or all of these interesting creative titles, then you have to decide that you're willing to up your clarity in other places, or you can just go the route of like, well, the people that are meant to work with me will be energetically drawn to me and that's it. And of course there is a place for that, but I find that my friends who are earning high 6 and 7 figures in these more feminine energy businesses have found a good balance between clarity and creativity. So it's not so creative and so my people will get it and they'll just understand me and they'll be attracted to work with me, that they don't have to be clear. And I think honestly, that can be a cop-out and it's often subconscious, but the truth is you're not really clear on what it is you do. You're not really clear on who it is you help. And rather than make yourself get clear, the cop-out is, oh, well, my people will just be attracted to me. They'll just know it's just a feeling. It can't be explained. And I bet you, if you were willing to really run the experiment and really get more clear on who it is you help and what the transformation is, and then you spoke more clearly about that on your website, on your social media, in your bio, that you would land more clients, you would convert more business because of the value of clarity. So if you're listening to this and you're feeling a little called out or called up, that is okay. Me too. It's an evolving process. And I do believe it can be so helpful to hire someone to help. Working with Rochelle on my website, she certainly was able to distill down things and offer a third-party perspective on my work and what it is that I do that sometimes it's hard for me to do because I'm so close to it. So that's the value of hiring a service provider, hiring a copywriter, hiring a coach or a mentor. But then we have to be careful because we want to hire people who honor our sovereignty and are tapped into energetics and don't just want to bulldoze, because we can go so clear where it's like, I help blah, 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 do blah, 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 that all of the magic is gone. And so there really is an art and a science to it. of finding that beautiful, happy medium where it is clear and it still contains the energetic signature of you and your magic and what does feel unique to you. So I would be so curious to hear how this lands for you and what, if anything, gets to change in your business. So feel free to slide into my DMs after you listen to this and let me know what changes you're making to be clear over clever. Thanks for listening as always, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Listeners like you have made this a top 3% global podcast. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share, and leave a review. I also love hearing listener feedback, so feel free to slide into my DMs on Instagram @mmakesmoney. If you would like to explore hiring me as your money healer and business mentor, hit the link in the show notes or head to explore.emilywilcox.com. Until next time, I'm sending you all the magic money vibes on your joyous path to millions.